The base is dropped on a Friday here at Soccer Down here, and that means it is a Freestyle Friday. Jarrett and I are going to kind of combine things since last night, because of the late finish, we did not do a Salty Takeaway. So this is, I guess, the combination Salty Takeaway post-game show, Friday free kick, free-for-all, freestyle, whatever you folks have thought about submitting to us on the Twitters, and thanks for doing that as well. And then after we go through what you guys thought about the 2-1 loss to Red Bulls by Atlanta United, we will do the weekend. Jarrett, help me out. Whip around. There you go. So the weekend whip around will be the wrap up here on the Friday show. After we
again, Jason's not here to stop us.
Correct.
He hasn't been here all week. It's
that
great.
Yes.
He's not here to tell us what we can and can't do.
Yes. So
Dad's not home, and Dad's not home, and there's no one to tell us that we can't make s'mores over the open stove when we light the gas on the stove.
Oh, and before we go any further, shout outs, kudos, huzzahs and hurrahs, and raising the roof to both Mike and Jason, by the way, for just doing the call the way that they did. Neither of them healthy 100%, as Mike said on the air. Both of them tested positive. Mike had no symptoms, but had no voice, and he had to yield to Jason, I think, in the mid 70s for Jason to call the balance of the match. And then Jason, he had a voice, and he was the one who had the congestion. So between the two of them, they had one healthy individual, and they called the match last night. And they are on official radio silence. So there was no way that Jason was going to be here today because of what they did last night. Tremendous work by both of them. It was great stuff. So massive tips of the hat to both of them for what they were able to pull off last night with the match against the New York Red Bulls. Man, that was some serious stuff from the both of them.
It was. If you've never called a game before, it's tough. It's fun. Calling sports is a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of prep work. You just got to be in the right headspace. You got to make sure you're ready. You do all your prep. You get squared up. You're getting comfortable. And then you've got your energy carrying you through it. Like if you've ever heard Mike call a game, Mike wears his energy on his sleeve with it. And heard a lot of guys call games like that. And it's tough though. I mean, it's tough to do when you're healthy because, of the way you have to lock in and everything you got to get done ahead of time and you're staying on top of things. It's a balancing act, and shoot, man, we'll get into the mental side of things in a minute. With when you get tired, your mind can slip a little bit. You can have those, the fogged brain moments, but I thought they did a really good job because it was really tough and they handled it really well.
And they are hopefully on radio silence so they can call the NYCFC match on Sunday from the match will be at Yankee Stadium. First time in 2022 that NYCFC will have consecutive home matches at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. And for those who have your notifications set on the network, the Friday Free Kick with Michael Parkhurst, that is also up on the network, and got to catch up with Cap to talk about what it's like going up against a team and a system like Red Bulls, what it's like to go into a building like Yankee Stadium to go up against NYCFC. Really cool conversation and the lessons that you can take from that in and of itself. So getting into the match itself, let's get into the numbers from our friends at SofaScore. A lot of sixes across the board for Atlanta United. The only 7 on the board came from Luis Arujo, who punched a 7.4. And frankly, Jarrett, I think that Luis Arujo is the model for Cyberdyne Systems Model 101.
Luis Arujo has been fantastic. He's been everything you could ask him to do to come in and be that DP winger. Everybody wanted that DP winger last year, and for good reason, because he's brought you what you needed. A guy who can cut inside and cut you apart. He can get outside if he has to. He presses really well in the, defending up the field. He's been very clinical in front of goal when he's gotten the ball and gotten the chance. Luis Arujo has been great and has been been a really steady piece since he came back from his injury. And it's been that piece that you needed and that you're trying to lean on sometimes when you're missing bodies left and right and guys are coming back and you're load managing and nothing. I've run out of things to say about Luis because he has been incredibly good.
Yep. Bunch of sixes across the board. Your starting lineup was 5 at the back. Caleb Wiley, Alex DeJohn, Alan Franco, George Campbell, and Aiden McFadden once again getting the start on the right-hand side. Your 3 in the midfield, Amar Sejdic, Mateus Osechu wore the captain's armband, and Franco Ibarra. Cisneros and Luis Arujo up top, and Rocco Rios Novo was in net again. Your substitutes were Marcelino Moreno coming in at the very end for Franco Ibarra. Emerson Heineman was in, and Joseph Martinez came in. He punched a 7.1 in about 30 minutes of duty, replacing Ronaldo Cisneros. Getting into the stats on the match in and of itself, you had for the numbers in and of itself in the first 45 minutes, there were not a whole lot of shots that were on target. I want to say it was 11 shots total, and I think only 1 or 2 were on target here. In the match in the overall, no surprise. Red Bulls played like the ball had cooties, had 42% possession to 58% for Atlanta United. Total shots for Red Bulls 16-8. Shots on target for Atlanta United 4-3. Then you had 13 fouls called on Atlanta United, while only 7 for Red Bulls. We'll get into that possibly as one of the elements here with the matchup. You had shots inside the box were 8 for Red Bulls. Passes on the day, almost 500 passes for Atlanta United. Accuracy at an 82% clip. 34 completed long balls at a 57% accuracy. 15 of 28 on the dribbles for Atlanta United at 54%. 29 clearances, 9 picks, and 21 tackles on the day. And we can get into individual numbers with the players for Atlanta United. But, specifically, Jarrett, I guess let's just start with the system in and of itself and what Gonzalo Pineda wanted to do. And he started with 5 at the back, and that is somewhat uncharacteristic, but the tactics were right on for what they wanted to do against Red Bulls last night.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think they got it right. You go 3 at the back, and it's risky in that instance because you only had 3 center backs. You didn't call anyone up on short-term loan. Your options, would have been Nelson Orji or Noah Cobb pretty much, because the second team, I think Bryce Washington is still not 100%. Efrain Morales has, call spade a spade. I think he struggled in adjusting to that center back role.
Right.
But it's a tough transition for him. Your other option would have been Grant Howard, who's done a great job. I've got a Twos review coming out today. I'm going to talk a little bit about guys like Grant Howard who are about to go to college, who really stepped up when they had to. But that's pretty much all your options. So you go 3 center backs. You only had 3 healthy center backs with you. Your new center back isn't available yet. So you do that. You're asking a lot of Aiden McFadden, Aiden McFadden's been great, I think. Aiden McFadden did a really good game. I think he made a couple mistakes, but he did, to me, he did that thing that you want to see guys do of, if you make a mistake, don't make it in the critical area, like you saw at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Make a mistake in a safer area, and I thought he did that. And then Caleb Wiley had a really good game. Really good runs off the ball. Had some good dribbles. Aiden McFadden did as well. He cut apart a couple guys on that Red Bulls team dribbling at defenders. It's a different look, and I agree. I thought one of the many things, trust me, we'll get into it. One of the many things that is frustrating about that game is I thought you got it right.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you got the setup correct. I thought you got the execution correct for the most part. You were generating chances. Cisneros gets under one in the first half and sends it over the bar. Luis Araujo gets in right before halftime and gets into a really dangerous spot. Cisneros again is able to turn on one and hit a rocket that forces a really good save in the second half. Like, for some reason, Red Bulls weren't pressing as high. Don't know what that was about. or pressing as aggressively. They were high, but it wasn't as aggressive, and Atlanta was able to play through it. And you saw what happens when you play through a press. When the press isn't committed 100%, Atlanta played through it. And Atlanta played through it pretty effectively at times and was generating a lot of very quick passing, a lot of good movement off the ball. That's the thing that frustrates me so much about it is about the result as a whole is you showed that you can go into someone's house, a playoff team that is sitting second in the conference, I believe. You went into their house with a ragtag injured group of guys. I think you had 3 guys in that starting lineup who were expected to be starters at the beginning of the year. And you played them really well for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you just didn't.
Let's see. Of the 3 that you were thinking of, my guess is it's probably Luis Arujo, Mateus Osetiu, and Alan Franco, perhaps.
Alan Franco or George Campbell, however you feel about that.
Yeah. So you 3 possible. And so the point that you were making, and I know that you were getting in conversations with folks on the Bird app about it last night, where, who could you bring up? And I know that you mentioned a lot of the young guys for Atlanta United too. But what I would counter with, I understand the argument of bringing in center backs to help, but, and this is a point that once again teasing the Freddie free kick with Michael Parkhurst, and I think it was a point on the broadcast that was made by Mike and Jason, was, Aiden McFadden didn't have any real experience going up against this Red Bulls system / team on the MLS level in game state. Yes, you can do so much going up against Red Bulls too, but it's not the same as going up against Red Bulls in Red Bull Arena in MLS, where the pacing is that much faster. And I think that dealing with the schedule that you have for Atlanta United too, the young guys that you mentioned might be out of place going up against Red Bulls in that system, in that building, being pressed into service. And so I think that I understand why those guys were held back, meaning the ones that you were talking about for the 2s, going into a situation where, yes, you've seen it, but you've only seen it differently, and you have seen it with younger players. You haven't seen it as you would anticipate it would have been at Red Bull Arena.
Yeah, it'd have been a really tough ask, tougher than a lot of asks that you can do. And New York City is not going to be any better because it's such a tiny, unique field that you're going to have to play on. It'd have been a tough ask to have those guys come and be available. I think Noah Cobb could have done it. He is wise beyond his years. I know it's kind of a cliche, cheesy thing to say, but it's kind of how I feel about it.
I mean, you mentioned the Pachuca match. Aiden McFadden, Noah Cobb. That was your right-hand side in the second 45 minutes going up against Pachuca. Yeah. He's been.
It was. It's a very tough ask for them. And you ended up not doing it, and you end up with guys tired at the end. And whether or not guys like Alex DeJohn are tired, like physically tired, I think mentally tired is the thing that gets you in that situation where Alan Franco plays that ball across to him. And then, man, whatever it may be, whether his brain just locked up, like vapor locked for a second, or I wondered if he was kind of squaring his body up and just waiting for it to get it on his right foot, and then waited too long because, again, I wonder if he just brain vapor locked on it, man. It's one of the reasons I liked that they put Campbell on the right side, by the way. And I know you generally put the more inexperienced center back in the center, or the guy you might want to quote unquote protect. But I liked putting Campbell on the right as a right-footed player, because if he's not comfortable with his left, at least that way, this is just how I'm seeing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, that's totally okay. I like the idea of putting him out there as a more right-footed dominant player, because if he accepts a pass, he doesn't have to square his body like he would on the left-hand side. It's easier to catch that ball with his right foot, take one touch, or hit it off one-touch passing, whatever it might be. Maybe he's just more comfortable on the right side, but I think for me, I saw it as a matter of it helped him not have to worry about having to take multiple touches with guys bearing down on him. And we know he's good with his feet, but you want to put guys in a position to succeed. And I thought they did that with him. I just think mentally you just lapsed, and you lapsed at literally the worst part to lapse at, when Red Bulls was really dialing up the pressure when they put in subs. And it's insanely frustrating, and it pisses me off still, because you had played so well for 80 plus minutes and then it just stopped, and you threw away 80 minutes of great play. And they know that. They don't need me to tell them that.
Yeah.
But it bears repeating just how frustrating it is.
Yeah, because I mean, we're not going to escape that idea. We're not going to just sit there and not mention it. Yes, it's completely and totally frustrating. Players are frustrated. I know that a lot of fans are frustrated. As we discussed,
Gonzalo Pineda used the term heartbroken, actually.
Yeah. And
it's a fair response.
Not wrong. In as much as has been invested, you got the tactics correct. For 80 minutes, you fought. You got the lead with Joseph Martinez, and then it's Caleb Wiley in trying to go after the ball, and got Lucchinius instead, which created a penalty, which tied things up. And then when you have the Alex DeJohn moment, and I will guarantee you that Alex will be the first person to sit here and stand up and discuss what happened too, because I think that from the way that I was looking at it, Alex, I think, was focused on following the ball from Alan Franco to what Alex wanted to do with his next move, and it was work his way down the left-hand side. And so he's focused on the ball. Serge Ngoma, is coming through, and he's trying to completely and totally just intercept the path of the ball, and he got to the ball before Alex could set it up and work it down the left-hand side and keep things preserved and possibly get a rush down the left channel for Atlanta United. Serge Ngoma, great anticipation, cut the pass off, went one-on-one with Rocco, and it was 2-1 by the time that we're done. You mentioned Aiden and Caleb. Let me get into the numbers for them real quick. Both of them played 90. Aiden had 5 clearances on the day, 1 block and a pick, 1 dribble passed. Duels on the day, he was 3 of 10, 1 for 3 in the air. That's not necessarily a surprise with how he handles himself in the air. 2 for 7 on the ground, 80% in his passing on 55 touches for 20 of 25. 3 key passes for Aiden McFadden. One of those was in the first half, that last rush that you were talking about, where he combined with Luis Araujo, and it ended up going just wide of Carlos Coronel. He was 1 of 2 on passes, completed his only long ball, and had the one chance created, 1 for 3 on the dribble. Caleb Wiley on the day, 4 clearances, 1 pick, 2 tackles, 2 dribbles passed, 6 of 15 on ground duels, and he had his 1 aerial. So on the day, 7 of 16 in the air, or 7 of 16 in duels for Caleb Wiley. Touches, 82 touches, 77% on his passing, 36 of 47. 1 for 2 on his passes, had the 1 key pass, 1 for 3 on the long ball. 4 of 7 on successful dribble attempts for Caleb Wiley. So you mentioned what Caleb was able to do, and you look at the numbers from SofaScore, and they only gave him a 6 flat, but that's mainly because of the penalty that he allowed against Lucchinius. But outside of that, you look at what Caleb did, you look at what Aiden McFadden did. Alex DeJohn had a 6.9, one of the highest rated players on the day. So the tactics were right, 80 minutes, and then it's, once again, and we'll go, I'll mention the Friday free kick. Early on, Michael Parkhurst and I this week talk about what it's like going up against Red Bulls in that system. And it's a great description of what it's like to go up against a system like Red Bulls, when you're used to seeing, and this was the analogy that I used, Jarrett, where in college football, you're used to seeing, defenses are used to seeing spread. You're used to seeing the occasional team with, running out of the eye. But then you have on your schedule Army or Navy. That's what you're having to prepare for when you're going up against Red Bull. And it was, they had the tactics correct. It's just those 2 moments in those final 10 minutes. And it's about moments that they create, meaning Red Bull, in that system. And they took advantage of it in those moments. And unfortunately, those 2 moments created 2 goals, and it ended up with a 2-1 loss. I
think it was like one of the last years that Paul Johnson was at Tech, that UGA had a schedule where they played, oh man, I forget. They played somebody who like ran a variation of the option. Then they played Southern. Then they played Tech in the span of like 3 weeks.
Was it like
And,
Air Force?
Hmm?
Was it Air Force?
I don't think it was Air Force. I'm trying to think who it was. It was just this weird scheduling thing where, like, I just remember at that point being like, man, Georgia's going to fight the next quarterback they see who runs on them, because they're just going to be, it was somebody who had a running quarterback. I don't even think it was a spread or an option, but I think it was like they played Georgia Southern, then they had to play Tech or something like that. It was just like an obscene amount of option and running quarterback based offense that they had to see like 3 times in a month.
Yeah. And so it was a really eye-opening for me to get Michael's viewpoint on what it's like going up against a system like that. Let's go through the folks here on the Twitters. Chris Hutchison, much better effort than that put forth in Toronto. And then Chris adds for 80 minutes. And once again, it's stuff that we talked about. Comes to Atlanta United, it's 80 minutes, but for Red Bulls, you have to be there for the full 90. And those mistakes cannot come back to bite you, and the 2 mistakes did. Waffle disappointed.
They did.
Yeah. Waffle disappointed, frustrated, and realistic. Yes, everyone's disappointed. Yes, everyone's frustrated across the board. Don't know what the third word means, Waffle, but
I think I can tell you. It's a lot of people being realistic in the way they see it. That's where the team is right now. And I think for me, I can tell you, for me, the frustration was because I saw it last night. And I'll disagree with what some people said, and they got their opinions. That's fine. You hit me, like, DMs are always open. You're always welcome. Because the idea that they weren't good enough, they were. That was the thing. That's what made me so pissed off and and I haven't been angry after a game in a long time. The last one, honestly, might be the loss in Dallas on the 4th of July. I think it was in 2019 or 2018.
Where they sent Akindelli and basically went to a 4-2.
They scored 2 goals in like 5 minutes to flip it. Atlanta had a 2-1 lead, and Dallas scored 2 goals in like 5 minutes to win. It's probably the last time I was that aggravated with a game. But the fact that you found the goal, you had created chances, you were playing through them, you were holding them to practically nothing. Like, they weren't pounding your goal. They weren't pounding the door down on Atlanta United in that game. Not to the very end.
25.
It was long shot after long shot after long shot after, just half chance that just went off into row Q. You were good enough. You were. And then you let up mentally, and you gave them an out to take the game, and they took advantage of it, because that's just, you played into what Red Bulls wants to do, and you just went to sleep mentally, which is what they're going to count on in that situation. That's the frustrating thing for me, is because I think they were good enough. They can be good enough. They just aren't executing it right now. And I think that's a lot of the frustration. Now, if you feel like, hey, that team's not going to make the playoffs, cool, because guess what? They're running out of time to do that. They really are. That sucks. Your saving graces to the East will probably keep beating itself up into oblivion, to the point that you're going to have a couple spots at the very end. They're going to be up for grabs. If you're there to be a part of that race, great. But you got to start stealing points. You had 3 points to steal. Caleb Wiley makes a 17-year-old's mistake, gets too antsy and leaves his feet. Caleb will grow from it. Alex DeJohn's head switched off for a minute, and Alex DeJohn makes a mistake, and you go from 3 points to no points in less than 10 minutes time. And go ahead, John.
And these are your number 3 and number 4 guys on the depth chart in this situation.
Yeah.
Against Red Bulls in Harrison, New Jersey. Remember, at the very beginning, you were the one who was discussing 3, possibly 4 guys in that starting 11 would have been thought of at the beginning of the season as being in your starting 11. Safe to say that Alex DeJohn was not one of them. Caleb Wiley was not one of them that was in your 3 or 4, but they have come in and given you great minutes, and there's been growth from Caleb Wiley. It's just that in this situation, you had those 2 moments from those 2 guys, and those 2 moments cost you. And that's the bottom line. Like I said, you go up to the 2 of them and ask them about it, they'll be the first ones to put their hand in the air. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. And Alex is a consummate professional. It's one of those things that you bag on the moment, you don't bag on the person, because Like I said, Alex is a great guy to talk to. Very smart player. Very aware of what his role was coming in here. He wasn't expected to start for this team. It wasn't expected to get a ton of minutes, but he can be that guy who can be a leader off the field, who can be a veteran to help guys, through the slog of a season.
Absolutely.
Take that mentorship role. He played some games with the twos, and you'd love having guys like him or Mikey Ambrose who can go down with the second team and be really useful to get guys ready and to get guys in the right mindset. But you don't necessarily expect them to have all of those. You don't expect them to have all of those opportunities like this during the season. And you bag on the moment, you don't bag on the guy himself. We'll dissect that moment for a while until we get to the weekend for sure. But it's going to be tough. But you gotta. I've said before, Atlanta United. No one feels sorry for you around this league because you're starting 3 guys from your expected starting 11. No one. They see you as a piece of meat. They see you as a wounded wildebeest, and you are a target to be taken down because you're an easier target than they thought you would be. No one's going to feel sorry for you, and I promise you those guys don't feel sorry for themselves. If Alex DeJohn or Caleb Wiley feel sorry for themselves after that, it's just going to lead to worse things. So they're going to have to buckle down mentally, and I think they will. I think one of the things they've done a great job of with these kids especially is the mental toughness. Because you look at George Campbell, when he's had bad games, he's done a really good job of following them up with solid performances. Are they man of the match performances? Nah, not necessarily. That's okay. You take that bad and you get it out of your head. You learn from it and you compartmentalize it and you move on because you have to. Because if you don't, you'll drown.
We're seeing the growth from George Campbell as well. You don't necessarily have to have your name in lights every single time to know that you're doing a good job. To a certain degree, the guys at the back are like the offensive linemen that we see in the other football, where a lot of times, sadly, they're only mentioned when things get messed up. But if you look at things in total, George Campbell, you're seeing tremendous growth. And so that's just another aspect of all of this. Emilio on the Twitters, kids playing too many minutes. There is no choice. Another poor reaction after getting the Joseph goal, not saying they do it purposely. This team has been repetitive all year, resulting in lost points. I don't know how to fix it. Emilio, when it comes to fixing it, and I'll put those 2 words in quotation marks, I think a lot of it would come from continuity. And unfortunately, you have not had continuity this year. We've mentioned 17 injuries of varying lengths and degrees of 35 individuals, or 36. I lose track with the Mulroney transaction to Orlando. But you've had in the mid-30s of individuals playing for Atlanta United this season. Half of them, 17, and there was a full screen that was put up by our friends over at Bally's during the broadcast about the list of injuries, and literally it looked like a crypto analysis from Wall Street. It's like 2017, 2018, 2019, and all the way working its way through all of the seasons for Atlanta United, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. And it got all the way down to the end, and you're looking at some crypto stock there in the 22 listing, where it is a lot of guys, and you can't have any kind of continuity, and it makes it difficult to function in a game-by-game basis. And once again, this is where I will emphasize, one, the front office for continuing to try and find solutions within the framework of Major League Soccer to try and get a continuity-based starting 11 out there, giving you healthy guys that you think can contribute. And hopefully we will see that with Juanjo Parata, and if Raul Godinho makes it to start between the sticks. That's why you bring in these individuals, and you're not going up against salary structures and things like that. That's why you have Atlanta United too. That's why you have the development that you have. So you can bring up guys like a Caleb Wiley. So you can bring up guys like an Aiden McFadden on the right-hand side. So you can see what Noah Cobb has been up to and doing all of this kind of stuff. But when your stars and your starters end up injured, continuity has to create dancing as fast as you can. Gonzalo Pineda and the coaching staff have tried to do that within the framework of a game-by-game basis with the individuals that they have to try to put out the best performance that they have with the guys that are there. And so, yes, was there once again for Red Bulls. You had it for 80 minutes, and then it was 2 mistakes. Yes, I know, and it gets frustrating. It's frustrating as hell for anybody that's attached to Atlanta United to sit there and, when is something going to go your way? And there's always the cliche of make your own luck, and I think that's $1 in the jar for me because I mentioned it on the show. But everyone's frustrated. But the bottom line is they're not giving up on the task. Consider the alternative of giving up on the task at hand. And I can guarantee you that if folks who sit there and say, there are some folks on the Bird app that have said this, to just go ahead and sit there and make sure that just send the season away and we'll go ahead and get ready for next season.
But if you were playing out the string, you'd be doing the same thing. You're playing Caleb Wiley. You're playing George Campbell. You're playing Aiden McFadden right now. Now, granted, you're playing them because of the injuries. But even if you punted, you'd be doing the same thing. You're playing Franco Ibarra and continuing to let him develop.
Yeah.
You got guys down at the twos who are developing, who you're playing them in those situations. That's where they need to grow and they need to get up to speed. I mean, I think you'd be doing the same thing. It's not like the majors where you can call up a minor league team and activate someone's clock. It's a different animal. I think you'd be doing the same thing even if you punted on it because you have to right now because you don't have the bodies to do anything else. You had one defender on the bench last night. It was Mikey Ambrose.
Mm-hmm.
And if your answer to that is, hey, call up Noah Cobb or call up Nelson Orji, cool. I don't disagree with that idea personally at all. But as far as like first team guys, you had one defender on the bench.
Mm-hmm. You had to do the best that you could with the resources that you had on hand. And if in the middle of this fight, you basically just sat there and it's like, yeah, okay, we're done. What would that say about your front office? What would that say to your veterans about your approach to wanting to be a super club? That if you just, it's like, all right, we're going to just, tank the season. We're going to do this. What would that say to your veterans who want to continue to chase championships and playoff runs? Because here in Major League Soccer, it is about getting into the playoffs. It's not just win the East, win the West, those two go. It is 7. Right now, you are a win out of 8. And then you can make up the difference. It is get into the playoffs and then make your noise. Just ask RSL and Pablo Mastroeni about getting into the playoffs and working their way through. It is about fighting to get into the playoffs right now. And because of the playoff structure, you can still do that. And the fact that you have the guys who are out there for you in an Atlanta United shirt, still busting it every single time. And it doesn't matter how old they are or how young they are. You've got the coaching staff still trying to figure out ways to get the best 11 out there to come up with the best result, like we saw in the first 80 minutes against Red Bulls, like a front office chasing after guys like Ronaldo Cisneros on loan, like Juanjo Purata, like Raul Godinho, trying to figure out ways to bring in guys like a Dom Dwyer, still out there working and grinding to get things done, because get into the playoffs and then work your way through. So long-winded answer, Emilio, but continuity has a lot to do with it. And when guys are healthy consistently, then that's where the first step comes when it comes to making it go. So what's up?
And when we talk about depth as well, because these guys are on the depth chart, and we talk about depth being up and ready to go and be able to handle those moments, I guess for me, like, depth is depth for a reason. Guys are on your depth chart because you need bodies who can come in and play in different roles. But they're not starting for a reason, because they're not as good as your starters. I mean, when you get into your depth, I mean, you want your depth guys to be able to get in there and get the job done. But it's a salary capped league, so a lot of times your depth is not going to be as good as your starters. Are they still professional quality? Hell yeah, they are. But they might not be game breakers like your starters are. And when you get into 3 and 4 deep, It gets a little sideways. I mean, it's part of being in a capped league like this.
Michael Head is too numb to have any comments about last night. Same song, verse 20. All the injuries have just wrecked us. That is true. Playoff hopes are ebbing. I still maintain that since we're at the halfway point of the season, yes, you got to get some work done. You got to steal some points. Michael says, looking at a pointless road trip with Austin coming next, the schedule looks rough. Shiva, right now we have to start winning these games mentally. Until we do, we won't get anything out of them. I would maintain once again that you did, and then it was just those two moments. It's about handling individual moments. You had everything right in the first 80, but going up against a team like Red Bulls, moment, goes from 1-0 to 2-1. So I completely understand, Shiva, where you're coming from, and I believe that's it. So that's it on the Twitters. Thanks for everybody who has chimed in on on the Bird app to let us know what you're thinking in lieu of a salty takeaway this morning. A couple of pieces of news have come across, and yes, well, they're broadcast news plans. That's broadcast plans about the broadcast, I guess is probably what I'm trying to say. First and foremost, Atlanta United 2 has announced broadcast changes for the El Paso Locomotive match because two things are happening at once. And Atlanta United scout Tom Marshall is going to be joining me in the booth. So
fancy.
So Tom Marshall is going to be with me in the game for El Paso on Saturday night at 7:30 on ESPN Plus. Tom was appointed as a scout by Atlanta United December of last year, and a lot of you may remember his work with ESPN FC. Covering North American soccer, worked on ESPN shows like Football Picante, wrote for ESPN Deportes, and so Tom is going to be with me in the booth with the Atlanta United 2 El Paso match. So that'll be cool to have Tom there. And now United has also announced broadcast changes for the matchup against NYCFC. Sunday, 5 o'clock, Bally Sports South. It is going to be Ed Cohen filling in on play-by-play. For Kevin Egan. Jeff Lorenowitz will be filling in for Mo Adu. Jillian Sakovitz will be there. Coverage is scheduled to start 4:30 with Atlanta United Live. For those of you that don't know, Ed's pedigree, longtime sportscaster in the New York area, NBA TV, MLB.com, NHL Network, called the Cosmos matches on MSG. Currently, Knicks radio play-by-play voice, TV play-by-play voice for the Liberty. And so it'll be Ed Cohen and Big Red with Jillian for the 5 o'clock, the 4:30 Atlanta United Live starting on Bally Sports South. Ed Cohen, Big Red, and Jillian this weekend for the NYCFC match. So broadcast crews changed up a little bit for the matchups for the twos and for Atlanta United this weekend. Jarrett, you know what time it is?
Is it time for us to whip it?
Whip it good. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy.
And so let's get into the matchups that we have, and they're going to start tomorrow. We've got two matches on your Saturday with Toronto and Seattle and Vancouver and LAFC. Give you the juice boxes really quickly. Toronto's a plus 150. Basically, juice box guys don't know what they think about Toronto and Seattle. Toronto's a plus 150. Your draw is a plus 272. Seattle is a plus 154. Now let's see if we have all of our fun facts like we're used to getting for these particular matchups, since I had to kind of do an end run on all of our pieces of information here. Toronto and Seattle. This will be the first meeting between these two since the Sounders won the 2019 MLS Cup Final 3-1 at home. Seattle's won the last three meetings between the sides, with Toronto's last victory coming in the 2017 MLS Cup Final. Toronto FC's 2-1 defeat to Columbus on Wednesday marked the 25th consecutive game the Reds have allowed a goal. Only been 6 longer regular season stretches without a clean sheet in MLS history, including a 26-match run by Crew in 2019. Sounders have won only 2 of their last 11 road matches, drawn 3, losing 6, dating back to last October, including losing 3 of their last 4 on the road. Seattle's kept just 1 clean sheet in their last 15 away matches, dating back to last August. Alejandro Pozuelo has set up 6 chances for teammates. He set up 6 in Wednesday's loss to Columbus, including providing the assist on Toronto's lone goal. 7th time Pozuelo has set up 6 or more shots in a match. No other Toronto player has had more than 1 such game since Pozuelo joined MLS in 2019. Jarrett Smith, what say you? that convincing, huh?
That convincing, sir. I don't trust Toronto to keep a clean sheet again.
Right.
It's an interesting matchup. It's in Toronto, yeah?
Yeah, it's in Toronto at BMO.
Give me Seattle straight up.
Yeah, I was going to go there too, because I trust Toronto less than Seattle on the road. Vancouver at BC Place, 10:08 kick with LAFC. Vancouver's a plus 222. Your draw's a plus 273. LAFC is a plus 108. Do I even need to go into the four facts?
No.
That's what I figured. LAFC.
Carry on.
On Saturday, we've got NYC. On Sunday, NYC and Atlanta's at 5. That one we know. 7:30, Crew hosting the Union. And Columbus is a plus 131. Man, we're doing this again. Crew is a plus 131. Your draw's a plus 227. The Union are a plus 210. A plus 210. Are we going to go down this road one more time?
Let's go over with something that Jason mentioned on the broadcast, that Philadelphia has their attitude. We've talked about this before. Rich, if you're listening, because I know you got to hear my rant and you enjoyed it about the trainer. Jason mentioned it before, and he's not the first one I've heard talk about it, that Philadelphia's got their attitude, and it's very Philadelphia, and that's fine. It's what Jim Curtin has going. They haven't really backed it up in the last month or two on the field. They've had some wins, but they've gutted them out. They haven't been as good. And they've been getting draws, don't get me wrong, but they haven't been able to finish games off. They've let a lot of points sit on the table.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can get this done. Columbus went and beat Toronto. Got a lot of good production from homegrown player, got 2 assists, but I think Philly is pissed off enough to get this done. I'm going to go Philly.
Yep, I am too. Union have won their last 3 matches against Columbus, putting a 1-0.
I don't necessarily feel good about it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Phillies kept 4 straight clean sheets against the Crew. No team has kept 5 straight against another in regular season play since Sporting did it against Portland from 2014 to 16. Crew are unbeaten in 4 straight matches following a 2-1 win over Toronto on Wednesday, 2 wins and 2 draws. Prior to that run, Columbus had avoided defeat in just 3 of their previous 8, with 5 losses there. Union's 9-match unbeaten run came to the end with the loss to Chicago midweek. Philadelphia's won 2 of their last 11, 7 of them draws, following a club record 5-match winning streak in March and April. Jason Russell-Rowe recorded 2 assists in the opening 30 minutes of his first MLS start Wednesday, the fastest a player has done so since David Chumiento for the Whitecaps against Toronto in March of 2011 for 26 minutes. So, yeah, I've got to go. I'm going with Philly here. I'll take that plus 210. We'll try it again, and I'm betting that we lose. 7:30, Revs and FC Cincinnati. Revs a big home favorite at a minus 182. Draws a plus 334. FC Cincinnati's a plus 438. Do we even need to go there?
No.
Okay, Revs at a minus 182. So be it. The continuing adventures of Adrian Heath at 8 o'clock Eastern. Minnesota United hosting RSL. Minnesota United's a plus 114. Your draw's a plus 260. RSL's a plus 219. Do you wish information or?
I like RSL in this game.
I do too.
I know it's in Minnesota. Minnesota's coming off a good win against a very inconsistent Galaxy team. Maybe that's what can jumpstart Minnesota. Remember last year they really struggled. They eventually get the jump start, and they're able to find their way into the playoffs very late in the season. Maybe they can do that again. I'm not convinced until they put it together, and it's kind of a backwards kind of thing. I'm not convinced until you convince me.
Yes.
Even though it's a home game, taking down RSL would go a long way to that. RSL is just kind of weird anyway.
Minnesota United won their first 4 home MLS matches against RSL, scoring at least 3 goals in each match. RSL's unbeaten in its 2 visits to Minnesota since, holding the Loons to 1 total goal over the 2 games. Minnesota United ended their 3-match losing streak with a 3-2 win over Galaxy midweek. The Loons, however, have failed to win any of their last 3 home matches, 2 losses. Last going longer without a home win in a single season since their expansion campaign in 2017. RSL has won only 1 of its last 7 away matches, losing 4 dating back to mid-March. RSL's unbeaten in its 7 home matches in that time, winning 5, collecting 17 points at home compared to just 5 on the road. Bebe Reynoso scored his 2nd career brace on Wednesday in MLS 2-goal performance came against the Galaxy in a 3-0 home win last September. So I'm going to go RSL just because I have less faith in Minnesota United.
That's where I am with it. In Minnesota, this is a game they should win. They're at home. It's something to build off of. I'm really tempted to also take a draw here, but give me RSL straight up in a weird game. It just kind of screams weird game to me.
At plus 218. Major news out of Liverpool. I don't have the breaking news sounder. Mo Salah has signed a new 3-year deal running to June 2025. The terms make him the best paid player in the club's history on more than £350,000 a week. So that's like 16 million. So that's 16 million. Let's say 52 times 350. It's like 16 million a year, I think. 16
million. A lot of money.
16 million pounds a year for Mo Salah for the next 3 years through June 2025. Also at 8 o'clock Eastern, Sporting Kansas City hosting Red Bulls. Juice Boxers have no clue, basically. Sporting's a plus 163. Draws a plus 244. Red Bulls are a plus 156. Yeah.
Give me Red Bulls on the road because this is the kind of game I think that they can. I think they can get this done on the road.
Red Bulls have lost only one of their last 7 away against Sporting Kansas City, drawing 4, including the 2-2 draw in their last visit April 2019. New York's last win against Kansas City, however, was a 2-0 win in October 2014. Sporting has lost 10 of their first 18 this season, including its last 2 at home. Sporting's lost 3 straight at home, only once in the last 15 years, doing so from August to September in 2014. Red Bulls scoring the 2 late goals. First time in nearly 9 years that New York won a match it was trailing in the 80th minute or later, last doing so against RSL in July 2013. 12 of Sporting's last 15 regular season home goals have been scored either by Johnny Russell with 8 or Daniel Shallowy with 4, including the last 5. The only other Sporting players to score a goal in the team's last 12 home games, Remy Voltaire and Gadi Kinda with 2 and 1 specifically. So,
you see, I thought Atlanta was scoring centric.
Yes. I'll go. Red Bulls on the road. I'll go draw just to be a contrarian. That's. I'll go.
I'll go Red Bulls on the road. Look, Sporting Kansas City will take this game seriously. Don't get me twisted on that. Next weekend will be a different conversation because they need to be all in for the U.S. Open Cup, and they have Sacramento for the Cup semifinal. With a chance to play for a final and play for a trophy in what has been pretty much a lost year in the league. They need to be all the way the hell in on that.
No doubt about it. 8:30 Eastern, Sunday night, Houston hosting Charlotte. Houston's a plus 106 at home. Your draw and Charlotte are both about the same, just under a plus 250. Do I need to go into detail, or are you locked into Houston?
It's in Houston. Give me a draw.
Okay.
That's a tough loss yesterday for Charlotte against Austin. Austin's still a team I'm having trouble pinning down. They're good, but then they just every now and then they'll take out a 6-shooter and they're twirl it around. They'll have some nights where they hit all 6 bottles that are lined up on the barrel. They have other nights where they have blown 3 holes into the same foot somehow. Austin is still kind of weird, and they go to Colorado this week with the Blake Prairie Dogs. We'll get to that in a minute. Give me Charlotte with a little bit of fight back and earning a weird road draw. I don't feel great about it, but I'll do it.
I'll go Houston. Dynamo have not had much luck. Expansion sides winning just 2 of their last 16 against MLS newcomers dating back to October 2012. 8 of them losses, 6 of them draws. 6 of Houston's last 8 matches against expansion sides have ended in defeat. Houston lost 2-1 to Portland midweek, now lost 7 of their last 10 matches after a 5-game unbeaten string prior to that. Dynamo's 7 losses since April 23rd, tied for the most in MLS in that span with Toronto and Chicago. Charlotte has lost consecutive matches for the first time since losing their first 3 games of the season. Charlotte's collected just 2 points on the road this year, with 7 of those losses, tied for the fewest in expansion team's first 9 road games since Chivas, USA, and RSL. It had 1 in 2005. Darwin Quintero against Portland scored his 3rd goal of the season from outside the box, tying him with the Cruz Lucas El Rayon for the most goals by an MLS player this season. Doing that, it's the most goals from outside of the box in a season by a Dynamo player since Brad Davis also had 3 back in 2012. I'll go with Houston at home. Nashville and Portland. Nashville's a minus 143. Portland's a plus 370. Do you want details, or are you going Nashville?
I'm going Nashville. It's in Nashville. I don't want to use the term get right game again because I got slapped across the face by the universe when I did that over the weekend, or earlier in the week, before the Wednesday games. But this kind of feels like, hey, Nashville is kind of a layup, but for you, nothing's a layup.
Yes, true. So, yeah, I'll go Nashville as well. MLS After Dark on Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. San Jose, Jarrett, your Earthquakes, hosting the Chicago Fire. San Jose's a plus 108. Your Draw's a plus 273. And the Fire are a plus 221. Do you wish details, or are you going with your Quakes?
Unquake my heart, please.
Okay.
We going Quakes. Quakes. Chicago, I mean, good win for Chicago, by the way, in the midweek, beating Philadelphia and making Jim Curtin mad in the process. Jim Curtin wasn't even mad at Chicago. He's mad at his own team, but good win by Chicago.
Should have been mad at his own team. Matchups on July 4th. We have 4 of them, 7 o'clock Eastern.
I was about to say, are we doing a July 4th show, or do we? I have no idea.
I know.
Let's hit these in a way. We can always rehash it next week with another whip around, but let's do it.
Absolutely true. 7 o'clock Eastern Monday night, Orlando and DC. Orlando's even money, plus 100. DC's at a plus 250. Draws a plus 266. Do I need to say more?
No. Hi, Orlando.
Yes.
Let me show me them 3 points, though.
Yes. 9 o'clock Eastern. Colorado hosting Austin. Colorado a minus 132. Your Draw's a plus 281. Austin is a plus 336. Do I need to go further, or are we Colorado on the Prairie Dog?
Oh, no. I'm very interested in that 316 number for Austin. Was it 316? Wait, was it 316, or did I mishear that?
336, but I'm sure you could get
It was right there, Vegas. Get your together.
I know. Get your ish together, because then Austin could sit there and say that they just whipped Prairie Dog's ass.
Basically.
9:08 kick at Dick's, and Austin FC returns to the site of their first MLS win when they beat the Rapids 3-1 in April 2021. Colorado, however, won the final 2 meetings of last season, outscoring Austin 4-0. Rapids saw their 23-match regular season home unbeaten run, and with their last match there with a 3-1 defeat to Nashville, that began following a 3-1 defeat to Austin. Austin picked up their fifth away win of the season, beating Charlotte on Thursday. After collecting just 8 points on the road in 2021, Austin has 16 away points this season, with 5 of those being in wins, with only Nashville 17 and 11 games collecting more so far this season. Rapids are playing at home on the 4th of July, an MLS tradition that dates back to the very first season in 1996. Colorado's played at home on American Independence Day every year, with the exception of 2020, when the league was playing at MLS.
It's like back in the day when the Reds used to have every opening day at home.
Yes.
For baseball. Then they stopped doing that because no one hates baseball more than the active Major League Baseball commissioner. And when he's gone, the next commissioner will be in the same boat.
Exactly. Because he knows who signs his checks. 9 o'clock Eastern, FC Dallas hosting Inter Miami. FC Dallas a minus 179. Your Draw's a plus 318, and Inter Miami's a plus 454. Need I say more?
Oh man, give me Dallas at home.
Yeah,
but Miami's going to put up a fight. Don't get it twisted on that either. I think Miami will put up a pretty good fight, but give me Dallas at home.
I'm with you there. Last one on the board for July 4th. And like I said, we can always revisit it on Monday if we're around on Monday, because it is a national holiday for both shows, for soccer over there at 7:05 and for us in our normal spots at 9:05, health permitting. Galaxy are a minus 122 at Dignity Health Sports Park, and there are fireworks planned, according to a friend of the show, Joe Titino. Your Draw's a plus 294. Now, this is the number that is intriguing to me here. CF Montreal, soon to be Impact, probably hopefully soon, a plus 290. Montreal's a plus 290.
That's It's a road game, and you are traveling okay, geography lesson if you don't know, and if you do know, tune this out. Montreal is not like next to Toronto, which is next to Detroit. I've driven from Toronto to Montreal, John. I'm sure you have too in your time doing Canadian coverage.
Yep.
It's a haul, man. Toronto
haul.
to Montreal ain't a hop, skip, and a jump. That's a long flight.
Dude, I have flown into
Montreal to LA is a long ass flight.
Yes. I mean, it is just as, sometimes it is just as convenient to fly into Burlington, Vermont to drive into Montreal as it is to go from Toronto to Montreal. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Pull up your Google Maps. Montreal is like basically just north of the border between Vermont and New York. Like you take that border and where Vermont and New York meet and go straight up, that's Montreal.
Yes.
Not as far as Quebec City, which, God, if I could move to Quebec City, I probably would. I loved that place.
As evidenced by your Nordiques hat.
As evidenced by Nordiques hat. I've made so many friends playing softball with people who are hockey fans because of that hat. It's been fun. But yeah, Los Angeles to Montreal, that's a haul, man. I'm really tempted to take that number of Montreal. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about it though, because LA is so schizophrenic. But this is a very much like a prove it game for Montreal. They do this, and I think they raise some eyebrows, more eyebrows, I should say.
Yeah. After winning just one of the first 5 MLS meetings, 3 of them draws, the Galaxy have won their last 3 matches against CF Montreal. Montreal's managed just 1 point in 4 visits to Carson, a scoreless drawback in September 2015. Galaxy trailed 3-0 at halftime against Minnesota on Wednesday, second time in LA's last 5 home matches that it trailed by 3 goals at the half. Also versus FC Dallas on May the 14th. Galaxy trailed by 3 goals at halftime in just one of their previous 301 home matches, including the playoffs dating back to 2004. CF Montreal soon to be Impact, probably, hopefully. Their 2-1 win at Seattle on Wednesday. 4th away win of the season, equaling a club record for away wins in a regular season after losing its first 2 away matches of the season. Montreal's lost only 1 of their last 7 on the road, 4 of them wins. Dejan Joveljic scored off the bench for the 3rd straight match in the Galaxy's 3-2 loss to Minnesota. Joveljic is the 11th player in MLS history, 13th instance, to score in 3 straight appearances, with all those appearances coming as a substitute. Give me Montreal and give me that plus 290.
Yeah, I'll take Montreal. Tonight we dine in hell, I guess.
So that is your weekend. That's your weekend whip around. Plus the action on Monday. We may address it. We may redress on Monday, considering, like I said, we don't know broadcast plans yet on Monday. First and foremost, we just hope that everybody feels better and gets better. That's the biggest news. 2 pieces of news, actually a couple pieces of news before we go. We mentioned the Mo Salah signing. So that one has been mentioned. It looks like Richarlison is headed to Spurs, and it looks like that is going to be for £60 million. So that's what you're looking at with Spurs and their most recent move. There was a couple of other things. Oh, yes. Fabrizio Romano reporting that the Revs are set to sign Albanian striker Giacomo Vrioni from Juventus. Romano has been told that the signing is as a DP to replace Adam Buksa. He gave it the Here We Go. So the fee is $3.8 million US plus bonuses, and that's set to be announced soon. And then one other piece of internationalness, and it has to do with our soon-to-be overlords. And is there any truth to the rumor that Cyberdyne Systems has gone in concert with FIFA here? Because semi-automated offside technology will be used at the World Cup. The system provides an automated offside alert to the video match officials team. 3D animation improves communication to in-stadium fans and television viewers. So it looks like Cyclops, and I don't know why this didn't happen sooner, but it looks like Cyclops is headed, or some reasonable facsimile thereof, Jarrett. Cyclops is headed to the World Cup.
Makes sense. It'd have been cool to be able to test this out in like a Confederations Cup.
Oh, we can't have that. You've got to just throw it in there immediately and then worry about everything later. No, you don't want to test it. You go in cold turkey, man. Come on.
I know. Jesus, I know. By the way, I want to revisit this because it's still fresh in my head. Mm-hmm. Los Angeles to Montreal. Let's play over under on how many miles do you think it is as the crow flies?
3,200.
You're a little high, but not by much. It's 2,840 miles.
Oh man.
The flight is 5.5 hours from LA to Montreal. Going the other way because of I imagine it's actually a little bit faster because of rotation of the Earth. And no, it's actually longer. Never mind. Haha, jet streams. They suck. It's 5 hours 50 minutes flying from Montreal to LA.
Yeah. So for those for the
that's
fans,
a hell of a travel.
Yeah. So I imagine that they stayed after playing the match in Seattle in the midweek, that they just stayed on the West Coast and are working their way down to Los Angeles and practicing and doing toe touchies and everything there on the West Coast. But for those of you, just to know, for the sake of Rand McNalliness, to go from Montreal to Los Angeles, it ain't just pack a lunch. It ain't.
No, it ain't.
And you've been on the road for an entire week and you're grinding, and it's a different time zone and all that kind of stuff. So yes, I'm taking Montreal in that plus 290. Let's see. I think that's a show. I think that
is a show.
I think that is. And so reminder on the network, the Friday Free Kick with Michael Parkhurst, great conversation with him about systems and stadia and things like that. And so great to catch up with Cap. You've got us here with Freestyle Friday and the Weekend Whiparound. Your NPSL Southeast Conference Match Week 9 preview is going to be coming up also here on the network, so keep out your notifications on that. Big matches at the top. The top 4 teams all within shouting distance of one another. Teams 2, 3, and 4 separated by 2 points as we head toward Match Week 9. So it's this week and next week in the NPSL Southeast. Jarrett, please be safe. Enjoy. And will we see you at the Fraction on Saturday?
Hopefully, my plan is to be there. It might be a little bit late, but my plan is to be there for action at the Fraction.
Attaboy. Quinn Martin Productions. So 7:30, El Paso Locomotive comes to town. Tom Marshall joining me in the booth on ESPN Plus, and 5:30 is the start for, or 4:30 is the start for the action for the first team at Yankee Stadium against NYCFC. So watch that on Bally Sports South as well. So for everyone, thanks for listening to us this entire week as we have been doing things on tape and remote. And thanks again for all that you guys are when it comes to all of our SDH-ness. Jarrett, be safe, and we will catch up with you soon.
Sounds good, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.